Vice President has said, we firmly support Mr. Wolfowitz continuing as president of the World Bank. We understand that there are internal processes underway within the bank.
Does the administration still have the same confidence it had 2 weeks ago?
Yes, it still has confidence.
Well, that's the latest from the State Department White House on how Paul Wolfowitz, president of the World Bank, stands, at least with this administration, with the president. However, a panel at the World Bank has found that he was guilty of a conflict of interest in his handling of the personnel matters surrounding a woman who was his companion before he got there, and whose personnel matters he tried to recuse himself from being involved in when he got there, only to be told by the bank's ethics committee that he really couldn't do that, and that he would have to address the conflict of interest, which he tried to do. And then when he did it, the next thing you know, he's up on charges, as they say. Where does this matter now stand? What is the outcome of this? Is he being railroaded? What's going on? More?
Well, first, I've known Paul Wolfowitz for more than 20 years. He's an idealist. He's a small d Democrat. He cares deeply about the plight of the poor around the world and has been trying to do something about it, including trying to stop their governments from stealing the money that the World Bank has been giving them. And the World Bank only lends money, by the way, to governments. And they routinely steal it, and he was trying to deal with corruption. The World Bank is a corrupt institution. Its bureaucrats make exorbitant salaries tax-free. They travel all around the world, business class or first class. It takes 8 years to process a loan. They have refused to give any money to Iraq. They give money to Iran. I mean, it's deeply political, and the bureaucrats and the Europeans and the others on the board hated Wolfowitz from the beginning because they thought that he was one of the authors of the Iraq War, and they've been trying to figure out how to resist him ever since. And they created what amounts to a corruption trap for him, and he unfortunately fell into it, and now he may lose his job.
Can he survive this, Marty, do you think?
I think it's going to be very difficult. You know, the problem is this kind of a thing does create a self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, if the whole bank staff is against you, and it's very hard for you, it does compromise your credibility, because credibility is about appearances. But I do think a lot of this is very confusing to an outside observer.
Well, it does seem that he did try to avoid the very problem that he's having.
But it's possible that there is kind of a Larry Summers effect too. We hear that a lot of bank employees reacted against the high-handedness of his aides who came in. He had a very close circle of aides. He didn't seem to reach out to people. So it was a management style problem too.
Well,
also,
when you're trying to change a place that doesn't want to be changed, there's always a management style problem.
But also, you have these op-ed pieces written by African diplomats saying that we want him to stay, and they're the very countries that the World Bank is supposed to help. So it's very confusing.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to stay, and the question is whether he wants to stay in a situation where it'd be very difficult to deal with all these high-paid bureaucrats there and the European governments that don't want him there. To me, Paul Wolfowitz is the perfect person for that job for exactly the reasons that Mort mentioned. Someone, a conservative with a real feeling for poverty around the world and how to deal with it. He wanted to deal with it in a different way, to have the money, not just worry about how much money you were shoving out the door, but what was actually happening to that money. Was it leading to serious development, particularly in African countries there, or was it being just siphoned off by governments to do with whatever they want, Swiss bank accounts and so on? He wanted some accountability. Look, this is a stale, corrupt bureaucracy at the World Bank that didn't want him there, doesn't want him there, and they may get their wish. But I think that decision has to be made by Paul Wolfowitz.
Now the bank is trying to extort the United States government into getting rid of Wolfowitz. If the New York Times is to be believed, they're offering a deal. You get rid of yes, exactly. You get to keep the World Bank presidency. Yeah. I mean, apparently the Bush administration is not standing up to that and is not playing the game.
But they may. What they ought to do?
Nominate Donald Rumsfeld.
No, threaten to send Mort over there. All right, that's.